What's up, guys? Welcome back to Between the Pylons. I'm John Camacho.
And this is Jacob Waters.
And, guys, we are talking about the Power Ranking Show yet again. This is the Between the Pylons Power Ranking Show, where we break down all the biggest changes from week to week. We try and talk about the entire NFL. And, listen, if you haven't watched this before, the way we do it is I make my own power rankings, he makes his own power rankings, and we combine them together to get our final Between the Pylons Power Rankings. A lot of interesting moves this week. I'm really excited to get into it. Let's put it right on the board, and give me your just raw thoughts of the week as a whole and some of the biggest changes that you've noticed.
The biggest thing right off the bat that I think we have to talk about would be the clash of the Titans between the Rams and Buccaneers. And last week's power rankings, the Bucs were at number 1, the Rams were at number 2. And this week, after we got to see it was a good game overall, we got to see them flip. The Rams are solidified number 1. I think that's across most power rankings out there, as they should be. Rams are a great team. I will say this for the Buccaneers: if there's a time that you can catch them in the regular season, because the Buccaneers will be ready to go in that playoff game. And I'd like to think that this is going to be a matchup that we'll see later down the road too.
Wouldn't surprise me a bit if that was the NFC Championship.
No, not at all. I think it'll be a damn good one at that too.
Yeah. No, I absolutely agree. I mean, listen, you look at this top 5. We do have unanimous top 5. I think really the only difference between our top 5 was the Bills and Browns, maybe, or something along those lines. Mm-hmm. But we had the same 5 teams in there. For that record, we had the same 6 teams.
Actually, it was the same exact.
Yeah. So we're on the same page there, and I think it's one of those things where I don't think anybody could really argue with that, aside from maybe the Chiefs, who have lost 2 games. But it's tough to go against the history that we know that team can be.
What they are, though.
Exactly. But let's get into it. The biggest winner for the entire week on our power rankings was the Cincinnati Bengals, jumping up 7 spots from the mid-20s all the way to 19 overall. And listen, I think it's fair to say that we had a lot of doubts on the Bengals coming into the season. Absolutely abysmal offseason and training camp. The stuff coming out of training camp was that Joe Burrow wasn't ready, Jamar Chase can't catch, all of this stuff was going on. And then 3 weeks into the season, the offense looks pretty good.
Yes.
How far can this offense realistically take the Bengals?
So there is an outside shot that they can straight up win this division. They just beat the Steelers, who were considered a mediocre, above average powerhouse team in this division.
Yeah.
We saw the Ravens struggle overall. They've had some good wins. They had a really dominant win over the Chiefs that they finally were able to get. They also have some lackluster performances where they play down to their opponents at times, and they did that this past week. And if it wasn't for a 66-yard massive kick from Justin Tucker, set a new record, that they would have fallen to the Detroit Lions. So all in all, the Bengals offense can keep them in any game. And Jamar Chase can catch a football. We know that for sure. And Joe Burrow can sling a football. Absolutely. And those 2 pieces, along with all the other ones, Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, Joe Mixon is playing some really good ball. It's looking good. I see the ceiling as a playoff caliber team, and I think that would be a big enough step forward in the right direction for the Cincinnati Bengals and fans alone to think that we're 2 years removed from having the number 1 overall pick, and you're already seeing yourself be competitive in a very tough division. I do think that this is the Cleveland Browns division to take. I still think the Ravens are a damn good team overall. So Bengals probably 3rd in this division, but it's a deep division. So that goes to say a little bit more than some of the others out there.
Absolutely. I mean, honestly, even to put them at 3rd is still kind of news, because you're putting the Steelers at 4.
Exactly.
And Steelers, listen, there's something to talk about there with the Steelers. They have just kind of trickled down our rankings. I think both of us still believe in what the Steelers can be. But there's certainly some question marks to be had there with the Steelers just as a whole. Is this team really just done? Is it time for rebuild? Is it time to move on? All those things. That's a big question, but hey, we're in the winners category right now. Let's focus on the Bengals here. And I absolutely agree, man. Listen, defense is still going to be a question. No question about it. I mean, there's pieces there, but it's certainly not a complete unit, I wouldn't say. But man, that passing offense looking good. The offensive line, they have a lot of highly drafted players on that offensive line. Feels like they're starting to come together a little bit. And yeah, that receiving core, everything about that their weapons that they have, from the run game to Jamar Chase to T. Higgins, who I know is hurt, but Tyler Boyd, all those guys, man, it's a dangerous unit, and it absolutely is. And it's fair to say that this offense can take them a far, far way. And man, if they steal one of those wild card spots, there's going to be a good team that falls out of it in the AFC.
There will be. Yeah. No, for sure. I mean, if the Bengals are able to get that spot, then yeah, it's going to be neck and neck down to the wire right here, though. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to bring it back down to earth. When we talk about winners, the natural flow is we got to bring it back and talk about the losers. And the biggest faller on our list this week would be the Seattle Seahawks. What do you think is going on with Seattle? What is wrong overall?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously they've lost the past 2 games, losing to the Titans in a game that they were controlling until the fourth quarter, and then just kind of fell away. And then this past week, really were losing from beginning to end to the Vikings. As far as
they didn't look good.
Yeah, they didn't look good. That's the long and short of it. Once you took away Tyler Lockett, obviously DK was able to get some yards and play okay for fantasy and all that. But overall, yeah, offense struggled a little bit. Defense, look, we came in the season knowing what the defense was. The defense was not going to be good, or certainly didn't expect it to be. Honestly, man, I'm nervous about this team. I really am. I'm looking at this Seattle Seahawks team and saying, this is the worst team in that division. And granted, it's a loaded division they have there, all right? We're saying Cardinals. We came into the season thinking
like
the Cardinals.
Kind of like the same thing with the Bengals, AFC North.
Absolutely.
It's still a good division.
Absolutely. There's a lot of similarities there. You asked what the problem is with this team. I do think it's a little bit scheme, and it has been for a while as far as the offensive scheme. I had a lot of hope. They brought in kind of a new age offensive coordinator that was supposed to come in and bring in some Sean McVay level, scheme, or passing game, some 49er level stuff like that. That was kind of the what we thought we were going to see, and I haven't seen it yet. It certainly hasn't been remarkable from the passing game. Obviously, Russell Wilson's going to make everything look good. He's done it for a long time, but it hasn't been like schematically amazing or anything like that. At least not to me. I'm not going to sit here and say I've watched every game's film, but I have gone back and watched a little bit of film preparing for this video, and yeah, it hasn't been special. This defense has to get better. Obviously, the defense is just an issue in general. The offensive line has always been, never been the strongest unit. I'll put it that way. Run game is fine, but it's not special either. Let's be perfectly honest. It's scary, man, and it's been one of those things where it's like you can look at all those flaws and say, yeah, but Russell Wilson will be okay. But DK is special, but Tyler Lockett is awesome. Like, there's been this notion, I feel like, just from fans, from media, from everyone, that unit as a whole, that trio, was going to be enough to gloss over the bad defense, to gloss over an average offensive line, an average run game. I mean, all of those other things. And week 1, maybe we kind of, obviously they got the win, and we thought maybe that was going to be the way. But 2 games later, two weeks in a row where they've lost games that we came into the week thinking were very winnable for them. Mm-hmm. It's starting to look the other way for me. I'm not going to lie. And I know, overreaction, but that's my long answer for what I think the problem is here.
No, it just depends on which lens you look at it, because at the end of the day, it might be some people, Seattle fans in particular, saying, oh, y'all are selling us out way too soon. At the end of the day, you have a generational talent that's Russell Wilson. And when this is all said and done, when you have a guy as special as that is, it'll be measured in how many Super Bowl appearances you make. And any year other than that, I would say is a letdown overall for Seattle Seahawks fans.
Absolutely.
It should be. I know that if I was, I'm a Vikings fan, if we had something that was going that much for us in our favor, I can sit back and look at it and have a high bar, have a high standard. Mm-hmm. And I think that Seattle's falling well short of that. They are slowly slipping away to be the bottom team in this division, while that can still be a compliment because it is a deep, deep division. When we're talking about playoff seeding, when we're talking about those final teams making it at the 6 and 7 wild card spot, these W's and L's add up, and at times right now, Seattle is dropping some of the ones that are coin flip games, that are toss-up games. Those are ones that go on in the late season whenever you're playing the 49ers in week 13, and it's like, man, we really need this divisional game. Who knows if we get it or not? You got to be able to fall back on some of these scripted wins, if you will. And I'm not going to sit here and say that this one was a scripted win, but they put up a lack of a fight. And I would say with the Vikings being in kind of the same little spot in the power rankings overall, that win right there could go to a tiebreaker later on in the playoffs. Who knows with the seeding? Because I think both of those teams are looking at wild card status overall.
Yeah.
And I don't want to jump the gun and say that nobody can turn around and win their division. Of course, both teams are 1 and 2 now sitting there. But looking at Seattle, they got to get things right because overall you have Russell Wilson, DK, and Lockett. And no, it's not going to be enough at times. It's not. But it should be. You have a window. When you have a quarterback like that, there's always a window.
Let's move on. Listen, we're gonna start a new segment on the show, and we'll probably do this every 4 or 5 weeks. Where the NFL changes so quickly, and there's always gonna be questions. But first 3 weeks of the season, we came into the show with a lot of questions and not a lot of answers. And right now, hey, we want to talk about a couple answers that we have, and we don't have a lot of answers, but we have a couple. Leave yours in the comment. Just start out with "It's official," and we're gonna do it from there. But that's what the segment's called. It's official, all right? And I'm going to go first here. Guys, it's official. The Dallas Cowboys are an elite team. We have them at number 6. Listen, their defense, it didn't come into the season thinking it was going to be special by any means. It's not a special defense. It's not.
No.
But it's good enough, and it can play to the strengths of the offense. And the strength of the offense is, they're damn near what the Chiefs were 2 years ago. I mean, they can score at will whenever they want. They have all the weapons in the world. They have a Dak Prescott who not only going to be comeback player of the year, could be MVP. I mean, could be MVP of football if it stays like this. He is playing very, very well. All the stuff with his shoulder, all the stuff with his knee, all of those things that we were worried about. Yeah, I don't worry about it right now, man. It's special. The wide receiver core is special, and this is an elite team right now.
The Cowboys are 100% an elite team. When you look at the defensive side of the ball, I had a lot of questions on that, and I'm going to give some shout-outs here. Trevon Diggs is playing out of his mind right now.
Yeah.
He's one of PFF's lockdown corners, and personally, looking at the way that he plays, he has just that itch, that ability to. The pick six that he had last night was a ball that I think elite corners make that play. Mm-hmm. Your average corner comes nowhere close to that, and that's what the Cowboys drafted him to be.
Yeah.
I didn't think he was going to be able to rise to that occasion. He's shown that he's able to do that, and give props to Micah Parsons. When DeMarcus Lawrence went down, you're talking about a guy who was playing linebacker and fully committed to moving to end. You do not see that in today's game. You don't see that type of versatility, that physicality overall. And he is still getting the QB hurries. He is still getting the sacks, the rushes, all of that stuff. He's a monstrous force up front. So yes, the defense isn't anything to write home about, but when you have certain key pieces that can move like that, that's what helps you. And
absolutely.
I don't even have to touch on the offense. Who wants to score can score, and they're going to keep doing that. The Cowboys are going to take that division, and they're probably going to make some noise in the playoffs. And I'll just go ahead and keep it going with it's official. The Jets and Jags are bottom dwellers. And all the hype that it was, and the Jags having the first overall pick and the Jets having the second overall pick, new coaches, new cultures, new this, new that, same old bad record. And I think that's where it's safe to say, I was kind of high on the Jags overall with Trevor Lawrence, thinking that this thing could get turned around overall. You were a little higher on the Jets than most people out there. And, they're just not it right now. They're not. They weren't able to get it going. I'm not ready to just throw it completely out on these rookie quarterbacks, but I think it's safe to say that ourselves and the rest of the NFL audience out there need to give these things time. They can't be turned around like this. This is a very competitive league top to bottom. And I'm going to sound like a dork here quoting Urban Meyer, but as he said, it's like every team's Alabama out there, which Vic Fangio completely laughed at him and said that's something you don't say. But, it is. It's a very competitive league, and it's going to take some time.
Yeah, listen, I'm shocked. I will be perfectly honest. You almost always see the churn, right? You always see it's never the same team every year, and it's almost like a certainty that doing what we do every year, trying to predict things, and you're never right. You never want to predict what was last year because the next year it's almost always different, right? Very rarely do you have a Browns situation where they're the worst team in the NFL 2 years in a row.
Yeah,
the Jets and the Jags were the worst two teams in the NFL the last year, and right now they are the worst two teams in the NFL this year. It doesn't look like it's changing. And yeah, they have two rookie quarterbacks that look like they could be promising. They really do. But the Jags just sent over CJ Henderson to the Carolina Panthers. They're getting some value back for them. So they know that they're still in full rebuild mode. And obviously CJ Henderson maybe not buying into the Urban Meyer way of doing things or whatever was going on there. That seems like they wanted to move him for a while. But overall, this Jets team, I really did. You mentioned it. I thought they were going to come in with this, 49ers scheme and all of these things, and I thought they were going to come out and at least be very, very competitive, and they're not. There's no other way to say it. I'm shocked at these two quarterbacks who were, the clear number one, number two to me coming into the season, or coming into the draft season anyway, not performing that way, not being able to elevate bad teams. And you're absolutely right. We know it. It's official. They are in the cellar of this league right now. They are 1 and 2 bottom teams in the NFL. They will be drafting 1 and 2. Probably be able to trade some draft capital because they already got their quarterback, and teams will be wanting quarterback. But yeah, no, I do absolutely agree with that. I'll keep it going with a little bit of negative feedback, and I mentioned quarterbacks there, but it's official. We're not seeing the old Carson Wentz again. He's gone. He's not coming back. It's official. The injuries, he cannot give up on a play. He's admitted himself in interviews he can't give up on a play. I think the injuries have gotten to him. The once MVP, a shoo-in MVP winner, the year the Eagles won the Super Bowl, he was going to be the MVP of football, tears his ACL, and we have not seen that Carson Wentz again. And I don't think we ever will. Obviously, we had some hopes here with the Colts. Now they're 0-3. I know there's injuries on that offensive line. I know Carson Wentz is not 100%, but I don't care. At the end of the day, he's just not the same guy, and I don't think he ever will be.
It's okay to be reminiscent of it, but I think one of the main points in backing Carson Wentz not being here and not being back to the same person is that he's not 100%. I don't think he ever will be 100%. I think he has had ample time. He has had plenty of trainers. He has had every chance out there. Yes, it was unfortunate with the injury that happened in the first place that just dismantled him from the start, top to bottom. But there has been time. There has been opportunity. And I feel like in giving him more excuses is just giving him more time. And we're just dodging the ultimate question of waiting for something that's never going to happen. He's not going to go back to that MVP form. He can still have some good minutes. He can still have some good games. He may have a good tear and have a few good weeks. But at the end of the day, for what he was, and it's just complimenting his past, because that's how good both of us felt that Carson Wentz was.
He was Aaron Rodgers-ish.
Yes.
That
it was
year
truly
was
electric.
special. Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
And in thinking that the Colts were able to trade for a piece like that, that's what the Colts were hoping they were going to get. It's time to just, I'm not saying cut ties with Carson, but cut ties with hoping it's that version of Carson. And you're going to have to go forward. You still have a good quarterback. He can still be the guy on this team, QB1. I have no doubt about that. But you just are going to have to, I guess it kind of just takes the wind out from underneath your feet, and you got to get head out of the clouds.
You don't have a top 5 quarterback in the
Exactly.
NFL.
And you're not going to. And at the end of the day, if you don't, and I would even go to say like a top 8 to 10-ish guy.
Yeah.
If you don't have one of those guys, you should constantly be looking. You should constantly be pursuing the next outlet, the next option. And the Indianapolis Colts are still in that same boat.
All right. Hey, listen, I absolutely agree with that. Let's close out this show and look forward to week 4 and what we're looking for. We're each going to give you one game that we think is the ultimate litmus test. Teams that maybe, hey, they've looked good or looked bad, whatever it is. I don't know what your answer is yet, but teams that you're excited to see, okay, we've seen 3 weeks. Now this is the game that's going to really give us a good idea of what this 2021 blank team is. All right, and I'll let you go first here. Well, give me your team.
Yeah, I'm going to sound like a homer here, but I have my reasons why. I want to see my Minnesota Vikings at home try to take care of business against the Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns are a perennial top 5 team in our power rankings, and the Vikings have played some good football, and I'm sitting here as a fan thinking, man, week 1 we took the Bengals to overtime. Yeah, it didn't look pretty on paper, but, it's one of those week 1 hiccup games, and the Bengals, as of now, are looking like a formidable offense and a formidable team. So that loss is looking a little bit better in my eyes compared to week 1.
Yep.
Week 2, we're a kicker away from beating the Arizona Cardinals, who, once again, is a perennial top 10 team in our power rankings. Those are 2 quality losses overall, and we have a very, I would say quality win with the Seahawks trending down, of course, but we did take care of business in Seattle, and that's one thing that Minnesota has struggled to do time and time again. So with some question marks on these wins and losses where I'm looking at, man, is the quality of opponent really there, really not? I know what the Cleveland Browns are. I want to see us be able to try our best and go in there and have just Kirk Cousins is playing offensively sound football. He's a sleeper MVP candidate right now. Sneaky good. He has an 8-0 touchdown ratio on the year. That's awesome. That's the type of stuff that I want to see going forward. And if Kirk's able to keep this going, spreading the ball around like he is, yes, the Vikings have a true chance to be competitive, and we might be able to sneak in there to the playoffs and make some noise.
Yeah, listen, that's a good one. If they are able to take down the Browns, I mean, they'll be the biggest jump of the week. There's no doubt about it. For me, listen, it's this Carolina Panthers team. The Panthers are going, and they're gonna fit. For me, the biggest litmus test of the week, it's Carolina and Cowboys. I want to see what this Carolina Panthers team actually is, all right? Listen, they beat the Texans bad. They beat the Jets bad, and they took care of business against the Saints. And that Saints win is a win that looks really, really good, a 2-1 Saints team that, yeah, the wheels fell off in week 2, but they came back and were able to take care of business against the Patriots in week 3. The Panthers are a team, listen, they could be 5-0. They could be 6-0, but they have to get through a Cowboys team first. This Cowboys team is going to be an absolutely tough opponent. On our power rankings, it's the 12th best team in the NFL versus the 6th best team. That's not like the craziest thing in the world. I get that. And I don't think the Panthers will fall incredibly far if they lose this game,
no.
Obviously without Christian McCaffrey. But this is the game that says, okay, this offense has been pretty good. Okay, this defense has been really good. How good is this defense actually versus one of the best offenses in the NFL right now? And how good is this offense actually having to, outscore another opponent in a way that they really haven't had to do? They have not gone out in the field in the third or fourth quarter and needed to win. And the offense hasn't specifically because they've just blown everybody out so far. I think that's a huge litmus test. We'll see how real this Panthers football team is.
It's a true test of the football team after halftime, thinking it's different whenever you're like, okay, guys, we can go down here and maybe get some points, but regardless, let's put our defense in a good position. It's a completely different mentality where it's like, we have to get down here, we have to convert this, and we have to set our offense up to score. They're going to be doing it this week for sure. Like you said, though, I don't see them falling far no matter what. Losing McCaffrey, they had a little bit different of a feel early on, trying to find Chuba in different areas. Swing passes really weren't working. So I'm interested to see their new identity, I guess, and see how Matt Rule's able to handle this and see what's going to go. It's going to be a good game.
Absolutely agree. It wouldn't surprise me a bit, just kind of going off topic. Do they use the Robbie Anderson the way they did the way they did Curtis Samuel last year? You know, they put Robbie Anderson. Obviously, Curtis Samuel got a lot more play once Christian McCaffrey went out. Would Robbie Anderson be in that same kind of position where they put him in this side? Because you have Terrace Marshall, who is a true wide receiver. He's never going to be that type of gadgety guy. You could use Robbie Anderson that way. Obviously, I think Robbie Anderson's a true wide receiver too, and all these things. But it'd be interesting to see how they try and to make up for it. Chuba didn't look good. I'll just straight out say it. I didn't think he looked special, and I think I know what Royce Freeman is. So I'm worried about this running back depth, which I think we all were, knowing if CMC goes down, it could be dangerous.
You have no one even close to that
exactly
starter-wise who could compete, let alone who's back up on your roster. Yes. So Matt Rule is going to have to utilize these little wrinkles. Right now Robbie Anderson is underutilized, so I think it would go in his favor to utilize him in other areas that might be able to catch the Cowboys defense off guard. They're going to have to do that. They're going to have to do something to catch him off guard and get him.
Yeah, listen, that'll be interesting to see. I'm excited for both those games. Guys, that is it on this episode of the Power Rankings Show. Check back next week to see all of the football talk that you want to hear. Check out the podcast coming out today, Wednesday, as well. We have a player props bet show that I do every week. You can listen to that on the pod or on YouTube. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Thank you so much, guys. Peace.
7.